Go.
Recording in progress.
Perfect. Get my
All
own
right.
recording going. Testing one, testing two. We are hot. Alan, give me a test.
Test.
Awesome. Mr. Vince, please give us a test.
Hello.
That's perfect. Sounds great. Welcome, everyone, to the Saber Martial Arts Podcast. This has got to be around episode 50 by now, maybe 51. This is awesome. Really excited about today's episode. It's night in one place, it's afternoon in another place, and it's just barely lunchtime in one of the other places we're recording from tonight. So if you haven't figured out from that little bit, we have a special guest tonight from Paris, France, correct? And this is Vince from the Lightsaber Path. So why don't you give us a hello and a quick intro to who you are, what you do.
Okay. Hello. So I'm Vince. I'm in France, not in Paris, but in the south.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I'm a martial artist and teacher. I've been teaching martial arts for 14 years now.
Wow.
And sorry, I hope my English is gonna be fine. My French and English is a little bit complicated to.
Well, to be honest,
speak,
your English is better than a lot of the Americans that I talk to, so we'll go with that.
Thank you. Okay. So what do you want to know exactly? You can just ask any question.
Well, you basically told us you've been teaching martial arts for you said 14 years now?
Yes, 14. Yes.
And have you been practicing martial arts for longer?
Yes. So I started martial arts when I was 10. So it was 33 years ago. I'm 43 now.
Okay.
So 33 years ago. And I started with karate, and then after a few years, 3 years, I think I went to Kung Fu. I changed and I did Kung Fu, and I never stopped Kung Fu after that.
Okay. So
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So then, how did you just kind of, I'm sure we'll go into more detail, but just briefly, how did you transition from just martial arts training into having your own lightsaber training curriculum?
Okay. So I went to China in 2005 for 4 years. I trained modern wushu in the Beijing school where Jet Li trained. It's only the artistic martial arts. No, they don't do fighting. They just do the forms.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And when I was there, I met a French guy who was a training partner I had for those years. With amongst other people, it was people from America, from Europe, from pretty much everywhere in the world, and training with the Chinese as well. And we grew like pretty fond of the artistic martial arts, the long fist, Chang Chuan, and the different weapons. We train weapons as well. And with this guy, when we came back in France after a few years, he went back to Paris. Then I went back to Bordeaux in my hometown. And after maybe a couple of years, he came to Bordeaux, and we started to think about doing some kind of class together. Because when we trained the wushu, we did the duelian. Duelian is you fight as a team, like it's a fight choreography pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And in China they have competition for this. Like like if you show your form, you show your kata, but you are with someone and you show a fight choreography.
Okay.
And it's called duelian. It's called duelian in Chinese. Pretty much it means duelian. It's a training with a partner or training team. So if you translate it,
okay,
it's not very popular. I don't think much people know about this. You don't really see it on. You have a bit on YouTube, a bit of video on YouTube, but it's not so popular. Anyway, and with this guy, we did fight choreography with 2 swords. We both had one sword, and then from this, I have a video on YouTube on this, and from this we decided to go for. We knew like lightsaber was becoming popular in America, and there were some brands selling sabers, and so we bought some sabers from Ultra Saber in America, and then we started to make our own choreography, and then we thought maybe we should start a class, and we did, and it was pretty popular. We had some success as pretty fast. It was successful pretty fast.
So you kind of started seemingly the way I know a lot of us start, especially with traditional martial artists, which is with forms and choreography. So that's
Yes.
it's very interesting because today's culture, we think of quote unquote fighting and we think of like MMA or boxing
Yes.
or kickboxing and we think of like whatever works on the streets, right? And
Yes.
we don't often well, I shouldn't maybe say we don't, but a lot of times I think that gets favored in view instead of the view of the traditional and where the forms actually come from and what they mean.
Yes.
So it's very I find it very common for people who have traditional martial arts experience to get into lightsaber through choreography and forms. And then people who maybe just like Star Wars and want to try lightsaber fighting,
Yes.
they get into the
Yes.
raw combat side before they get into anything else.
Yes. And the funny thing is, I think the weapon, this tube, the polycarbonate, I don't know if it's very convenient to do this kind of training.
Yes, I
because
agree.
it's even better than the wooden stick you get in Aikido. Or
Yeah.
you will not hurt yourself with this kind of weapon, except if you go very hard. But
Sure.
I think the training material is great for this. It's
Well, I think
really awesome. I think.
one of the things that when Alan showed me your YouTube content, because I had not seen your stuff before, and he sent me stuff. He's like, man, this is pretty good. And one of the things that I noticed was that you seem to do, at least have the similar philosophy to what Alan and I have, just based on your movements, which is technique over ferocity, if you will, technique over aggression, technique over the raw power that might be associated with some other styles of combat or sword combat. So I think that that's kind of unique to the lightsaber, and your point about the polycarbonate tube being a really good proxy for this type of training. I agree with that because you're not really feeling like you have to go hard with it. And generally people who do go hard with it, they kind of learn that that's not a good idea pretty quickly.
Yes.
So then you're on YouTube. Do you have you have in-person classes as well, correct?
Yes, in Bordeaux.
So what does your training look like?
So it's based on the modern wushu pedagogy. I don't know how to say exactly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that works.
You said it right.
We warm up and we do a bit of stretching, and then we go for the basics. I don't do so many posture basics in lightsaber like I used to do in the kung fu.
Sure.
Because people who come to my in-person classes, they are not really into martial arts.
Right. Right. You kind of have to make it palatable for a broader audience, not just the people who are used to doing horse stance for 10 minutes on end.
Yes, exactly. And most, I think, maybe 10 or 20% of my students are sports people. Like they like to train, they like to sweat. But 80% of them are maybe they would never go to a sports class if it wasn't for a lightsaber.
I understand.
Because they are a fan of Star Wars, and they just want to have fun, and they know my classes are going toward the fun more than the martial arts, so that's why they like it.
And have you seen that, especially those type of people, have you seen that like their physical health has improved? Have they seen that their physical health has improved?
A little, because they train only once a week with me, and I try to make them come twice. Last year I had two classes, but it was mostly two separated groups. There were maybe 3 or 4 people coming to both, and but in France the sports is more like a leisure time for 80% of the people.
Yeah. Well, it is good at least that they're coming once a week, because a lot of people, especially the type of people you're describing who wouldn't necessarily exercise any other way, at least they're coming once. So that's really good. A lot of people aren't even getting the once a week.
Yes. In France there are not that many people training.
Yeah.
any kind of sports.
Well, it's the same here. And Alan and I were talking in the car a lot last week while we were traveling to the Terra Prime thing, like just trying to get people to come to class at all, then to get them to come to class regularly, then to get more than like 2 or 3 to come to class. It's hard to do, especially in a niche activity like this.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
So, Alan, what do you got for Vince here? I know you've got a bunch of things that you've been wanting to talk to him about, and I know that you guys do share some lineage as well.
Right. Well, so a lot of the stuff that I was watching. First of all, your production looks great.
Oh yeah. By the way, like really, really crisp production. Yeah. It kind of makes me sad that I don't have anywhere near that production.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
I work with a professional videographer to shoot the videos.
Well, that's awesome.
Right.
That's awesome.
You can say his name if you want. Give him some.
His name is Theo. His name is Theo. Yes, he's a good. Became quite a. We have a good relationship now. It's not just my videographer; he's a friend as well.
That's excellent.
Wonderful. That's one of the things that drew the eye, right?
Mm-hmm,
is that your stuff looks different than somebody that's just set up a camera in their garage and said, "Okay, do this." Right.
That's what I tried to do from the beginning.
Yeah. It looks great. So the easiest question is, what is the lightsaber path?
Okay.
It's easiest, but also hardest.
Yes.
The idea, I've started to teach the lightsaber like 8 years ago.
Nice.
With my friend from France, which I met in China.
Right.
And then this guy 3 years ago, he left Bordeaux because for work he had to move out. So I was receiving the classes by myself, and I was used to work with him, like to teach with him the choreography and the forms. We used to make the form together.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when he left, there was 1 year I was thinking about what to do about this. And then I'm not sure exactly. I think a friend told me about the book, The Jedi Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys
know
this book or read it. I really like this book. It's the idea of the book is really cool because I agree. It's like it was written by the Jedis, and it's experience from every point of view, any work they can do as a Jedi. And I don't need to get into the books now, but
it's actually kind of an old book at this point. So I do kind of like that you brought it up because we used to talk about it a lot, and lately we don't bring it up so much. So it's good to put that back in people's memory.
Okay, great. So I read the book. I really enjoyed it, and they talked about the lightsaber. They call it lightsaber combat forms in the book. And when I read the book, I got the idea and I told myself I should interpret those forms and make them as a taolu, like a kata.
Yeah.
So that was my idea at the beginning. I read the book. I saw the lead. They don't describe so much the form, but they say a few things that make me think, this should look like more katana style, more fencing style, more longsword style. And then I imagine the form. I started with with Form 1 and Form 2. The first year I did those two forms. And then when I those 2 video online, and it got really good critics on TikTok. Like I got maybe 700,000 views on TikTok for Makashi. And then I said I should do the other one, and I did the forms. I interpret the forms. And after the interpretation of the forms, I started to teach them. I changed the program I had at the beginning with my friend. I put those forms in my program, and I decided in some way to create a brand. And Lightsaber Pass for me is the brand for teaching those forms, pretty much.
Excellent. And again, it sounds very, Alan, I'm sure you agree, it sounds very similar to the way that we've heard a lot of people who start their own curriculum kind of coming upon how they interpret things and why they interpret them. And the Jedi path seems to be a common thread among pretty much everybody we talk to, which is a good thing, because even though I personally think it's great that everybody has their own interpretation of these things, right? Like, I would be so bored if everybody's Shicho looked exactly the same and everybody's Makashi, right? I'd be so bored. Yeah. But the fact that everybody's is different but still seems to have these commonalities, if you will. It especially, like, okay, you're all the way in France, Alan's in Arizona, I started mine on the east coast of the United States. Like, it's just one of these crazy things that seems to happen in martial arts anyway, but it's kind of validates the lightsaber as a martial art in and of itself.
Yes.
So, Alan, what else you got for this gentleman here?
Well, that's basically part of the thing. So, you created the lightsaber path. You decided, I'm gonna do this. So, how does it work? Does somebody just show up to your school in Bordeaux, or how does it? Do they just show up?
Yeah, I have in France. It's not a company; it's called an association.
Okay.
I'm employed of the association. My father is the president, and I teach. I'm not sure it's good in English, but and I teach in France. And I have like a Facebook, for this. I do events to reach out to people so they can come to have like a trial class. And when they do one class, and then if they enjoy it, they register for the whole year. And then we have one class per week or two classes. It depends. If there's a lot of people, I open a class.
Right.
And when they start with Shicho. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I agree with your first one. We generally say Shicho around here, so we'll go with that.
Okay. So yeah, I pretty much I do the basics. Like for a few weeks, I do only the basics, and then I start to teach them the forms, and then I teach them a fight choreography. But the fight choreography is it's not really Shicho. It's a mix,
Right.
When you fight, two people are fighting, it's not so easy to define the style.
Right.
It's easier. It's easier as a individual form.
Almost a more fluid transition between whatever techniques you actually like to use.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes, pretty much they come to class and they register for a year. And in September, I will start again my classes, and I have like 30 people who are former students.
Oh wow!
And then new one will arrive. Last year we were 55%. I have two different classes, and there were pretty much 25, a little bit more than 25 in each class.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. That's kind of unheard of around most of the groups in the United States right now, because there was a big splinter effect, if you will, after the 2020 debacles, and we're still recovering years later now from all that. So
I don't know about that.
Well, just
from
COVID and the election in 2020 here was definitely a mess, so to speak. So it splintered the activity in a way.
Okay. Yes.
And it's really hard for people to get double-digit attendance in their classes. And honestly, a lot of times it's hard to get single-digit attendance in the classes sometimes. So it's really great to hear that you have that amount of people. For any martial arts class, 25 is a good amount.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's really
cool. In Bordeaux, there are. I think there are two other schools who do lightsaber. One or two, I'm not sure. And I see they only use the fencing techniques. Like they are.
Yes.
They are with the French Federation of Fencing.
Yes.
And I
was going to ask you about that, actually.
Yeah. I think it's my point of view. If you teach lightsaber and you only do the fighting competition, you won't reach as many people as you can reach with fight choreography.
You should
because
I should turn that up when this plays for the people. I should turn that section up because I can't agree with you any heavier. Like that is part of my base philosophy as a lightsaber person is that you have to teach it as a complete martial art, or you're just not giving them what they deserve.
Right.
But it's also for me the peculiar thing about the lightsaber is people who will come to train, they don't want to have a very hard training. They want to have fun as well. And if you do fight choreography, if you do artistic martial arts in this part, in this way, it's easier to reach to those people who don't want to fight.
Yeah.
Because it's not in their nature, you know.
Yeah.
They don't like competition. They don't like competition. They don't like to be in confrontation. And choreography is collaboration, and then the spirit is very different when you do a fighting choreography.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier to reach. It's easier to reach out to people with this kind of practice.
I agree.
Of course, the fighting sports, any fighting sports, I like it. I did a lot of Sanda before, the Chinese boxing.
Yeah.
I like fighting sports as well. But for the lightsaber specifically, I think it's easier with the choreography.
Well, I think something that people discount is that learning through forms and choreography is actually a really great way to learn how to really fight. I mean, as far as learning technique and learning correct body, mechanics and things, like you can't get any better. So if you really want to fight, it's much easier to transition from forms and choreography into fighting than it is from fighting into forms and choreography, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. The switch, the difficulty for me when I did a lot of Taolu and then I went back to Sanda, the difficulty was the mind, like to be able to go and strike someone. You have to switch from this technique, because I had a pretty good technique. I was training a lot in Taolu, but when I went back to put some gloves and did some sparring, it was really hard to strike someone because I was used to only train by myself, like or with my partner for choreography, and but mentally speaking is a little bit difficult. But for the technique, yes, if you have a good Taolu, if you have good roots, martial arts roots, then of course the technique in fighting are not so difficult.
Yeah.
Well, you said something about the French fencing federation.
Yes.
Our one of our friends here, Chad, who runs USA Light Fencing, he went over there to help them put together their French rules for the lightsaber. Do you have students or any collaboration with them?
I met student and teacher, but we met on convention in Bordeaux. Every year there's a convention, like I don't know the name, Comic-Con, but very much smaller, of course, much smaller.
Sure.
And we had when I go there, I have a booth with my association, and they have a booth as well. So we met, we talk, we exchange, but we never work together.
Yeah.
Because we don't really do the same thing.
Right.
I think it's totally cool to have both, obviously. Like, I think for people who, like, all they might know is fencing or kendo or something like that, it is kind of natural, right, to just, like, get a lightsaber and do the thing that you've already been doing with that lightsaber. And that makes a degree of sense. Also, as far as, like, the USA light fencing or the FFE is concerned with lights fencing, Alan and I were talking about this. I have had a hard time with this in my head over the last couple years that it's been generating. Not that I've had had a hate for it or anything, but just it's been tough for me as somebody who's treated the lightsaber as such a mixed martial art to kind of look at it in a narrow viewpoint. However, among our conversations, one of the topics we've talked about is that it's just like one version of the game, so to speak, or one game in the art, so to speak. So in that regard, it's totally cool to have things coexist, right? Like different rule sets or whatever the case may be, leagues, if you will. But I think to only do something is such a detriment to you as a martial artist. Like, I grew up in Kenpo karate, but never in any class did we only do Kenpo karate. Like, we would have takedowns from judo. We would have a little bit of American wrestling in there. We would have, some Taekwondo kicks and things like that. We had wushu influence because why not, right? Like, we had instructors who had all these different experience. Why would we not use them, right? But there are schools and programs, lightsaber and otherwise, where the more closed the doors, the better they feel. And I don't understand that. To me, I understand doing what you do and not getting in other people's way, but I don't understand totally closing your doors and staying in the cave like a hermit. I don't get that.
Yeah, but it's pretty common in martial arts.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame. It's a shame because it sounds like you've had an experience in life where martial arts were shared with you, right? And you just wanted to share them back. That's kind of the way I feel.
Yeah, I've been doing artistic martial arts. I've been doing some Chinese boxing, which is a sports. It's not really a martial arts, more like a sports. And you know that in Chinese boxing there are Russian influences of sambo.
Oh yeah,
right.
And when you watch MMA today, why is the MMA so popular? Because they can do anything. They can use technique from
all over the world.
Martial arts.
That's right.
Yes, and then pretty much the beauty. I'm not a big fan of MMA per se. I'm not gonna watch every weekend.
Sure.
Sometimes I like to watch like a fighter who has a good style.
Sure.
And, it's very interesting to see the mix of those martial arts. It's really interesting.
I think the lightsaber's a great funnel for all of those techniques to kind of dump into one.
Right.
Yes, you can pretty much do kendo. You can do katana stuff. You can do wushu. You can do anything with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, we call it the MMA of swordplay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Fencing is pretty, like, if the lightsaber was a real weapon, of course fencing was probably be the more efficient way, like to pierce, to thrust. Sure, no problem, of course. But to watch, like in a movie, for example, I prefer the fights choreography in the episode 1, 2, 3 than in the original trilogy. Because for me, the original trilogy choreography was not so amazing to look like it was with Obi-Wan and Anakin in episode 3, for example.
I'm glad you brought that up. When Alan showed me your YouTube videos, like, I did feel like I was kind of watching some of that like late 90s, early 2000s Star Wars fun, that was like the golden age of people's imagination of like what this lightsaber stuff could really be about. And I think that people like you and to toot our own horns a little bit, Alice, just we come from that era where the imagination was so thick. It's kind of cool to see in your content that like you have that attitude about it.
If I think everybody was, when Darth Maul was igniting the double saber, was such a crazy moment in cinema history, I think.
Yeah.
And the choreography with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon was really cool. It's maybe the best. I don't know, the most exciting to watch.
It definitely is the most exciting to watch. I don't know if it's the best either, but man, is it a thrill? 25 years later, it's still a thrill.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And the funny thing is, when I watched this movie, I knew that Darth Maul was played by a wushu athlete, Ray Park. At that time, he was just out of the English wushu team. And he was competing with the wushu team just before he did, a few years before he did the movie. He was competing with the English wushu team. China as well. He was in Beijing. He trained with the Chinese team in wushu, like we did with my friend.
So, go ahead, Alan.
Oh no, I was agreeing. I was like, yeah, we watched a couple of his videos on this podcast.
Yes, we did.
Broke down some of those old wushu videos that he has. Um, big, big, big shout out to Ray Park. Eventually, hopefully,
Yes.
he'll be on the podcast too.
Yeah,
We're
well,
working on it.
Yes.
to me, he's one of those people that really exemplifies what we were talking about as far as like technique and function walking hand in hand, right? I mean, his technique was impeccable, still is. He's got bad
Yes.
knees, a bad back, he's been beat up all over the place doing all the stunts and things, but he's still in his early 50s doing amazing, amazing technical martial arts. Mocap for the Clone Wars, that fight
Yes.
between Darth Maul and Ahsoka, like,
Awesome. Was
say
great.
whatever you want. It's just incredible that he's still doing this stuff.
It was incredible. It was great, really.
So yeah, I like that you give this, like, everybody's so serious in the United States about their saber fighting as far as like the fighting aspect. It's kind of neat to just talk about like the stuff that made us martial artists like get inspired in the first place. I mean, like, to see a real martial artist on the screen, not just an actor swinging a glow stick around. It just, like, I was probably 11, 12 years old at the time, and I'd already earned my junior black belt in karate at the time. Like, for me, martial arts was the only thing I thought about every minute of the day. So now the only other thing I think about, which is Star Wars, the two collide, right? And it's just,
Yes.
now the next 25 years of my life have been mapped out for me, right? So it's kind of neat to hear you give this credit, because we just don't hear it as much in the United States as we kind of used to, if you will. It's kind of refreshing to hear that somebody still cares about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after you do all this, maybe I ask this way. So I'm interested in the lightsaber path. I go to your school and I sign up. What's my first day like there?
So when in class nothing special. You just come like to the schedule, and you meet people. The atmosphere between the students is pretty cool, because they are maybe all young adults, mostly young adults, and with the pretty much the same how to say, the same passion for Star Wars, pretty much.
Yes.
Not all of them are. Some are more fans than others. Most of them are gamers. They play video games. I play video games as well. Not. I have 2 kids, so I don't spend my days playing games. And
Man, I sympathize
train
with
martial
that.
arts. I train martial arts as well, so I don't spend my day playing games. But I like to play video games. I'm actually playing the last Jedi games, Jedi Survivor. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
It's my last video game. And so all of them, they like the same things, and they enjoy training. So it's just fun, so pretty much it's fun. And at the end of the year, I do like a little graduation, where they have to show the form. They have to show the forms they are learning.
I love that.
And every year we have the convention, and during those convention we do demonstrations. So that's a period of the year where my students are really, really excited, because I train them for those demonstrations, and they're really happy to show what they can do during those conventions. And that's it pretty much. It's just it's a social. There's really a social tissue, like I'm trying to build as well when I teach.
Now,
because I think it's very important.
Do you have remote training as well, or online students?
I started the online training 4 months ago.
Okay.
With the lightsaber. Yes.
Very cool.
I have like there are 50 people online now.
Oh wow.
The program.
Very neat.
They are mostly in America, I think. Most of them.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
We knew you nerds existed here. Man, you got to come out of the woodwork. Got to come out of the woodwork. That's really incredible to hear. And I think in this day and age, especially, I mentioned the negatives about 2020, but I think one of the positives about 2020 is that we really understood out of nowhere or learned to understand how to communicate globally, so to speak. So,
yes.
This Zoom thing we're talking on right now, like, this was just a little whisper back then, and now,
Exactly.
I would have never thought that I would actually be talking to another lightsaber martial artist from France on this show, but here we are, and it's really, really fun for me. I'm just such a martial arts like dweeb, so to speak. I'm just such a geek for it that like I really think this lightsaber could be the spider web that connects all of the martial arts, but we have to get people to come out of their temples, so to speak, and share. And it seems like that's what you have done. People are coming to the temple now, right? It's really great.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
it's really great.
Excellent. Hey, and I can hopefully stop by next year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Next year,
Alan's going to be out there. That's right.
So I'll shoot you a message and see where you are, and hopefully schedules line up and I can train with you.
You will be in France, you mean?
Yes, I will be in France next year.
Oh, cool. Yeah, great. You let me know, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we know what the lightsaber path journey has been. You've told us a little bit about how it works. What's the goal? Like at the end of this, is this something that you just do because you're passionate about it, or are you looking to the future to do something else with it? Is there anything else that you want to see happen with your school?
It's pretty recent because, like I told you, with my friend before, when I was working with him, we just wanted to give a class or two per week, and was no ambition. About it. And when he left, and when I started to interpret the forms, and when when I got some views on TikTok, and then people saying, it's cool what you do and stuff. And then I was thinking maybe I should start something a little bit bigger, wider, not just teach in my country. And that's why it's because of the followers on TikTok. I have like 100,000, more than 100,000 followers on TikTok now. It's because of this that I started the online class. Because at the beginning I was just interpreting the forms, and I was just like for fun, I do cool video. I wanted to do cool videos, and it was well received. So I was a bit surprised at the beginning. I didn't know it would get so much attention, and I decided to start a class. People were asking me if I was teaching online. Actually, some people on TikTok they asked me, "Is it possible to get class with you?" Beginning, I said, "I only teach in Bordeaux. I don't know exactly." And then I was thinking about Zoom classes, and then I realized it would be complicated with the time zones, and then I decided to start the online program.
Yep.
So now the program generates a bit of money, so I can invest and do and continue. Like I can continue to film, and so I was waiting to see if some people were following it, because I have to pay the videographer, so I need some money to shoot the program.
Yep.
Because I don't want to do it with this. I don't want to put a camera down and just film like myself like this, like most people do. This way, it will not be like a very serious program if I was doing this. So I like to show it from multi angles, and I write the script of my classes, because I want to speak well in front of the camera, because I'm not English, so I need to work a bit on this. So I'm trying to do it like a professional work. For me, it's becoming a professional work. Beside my class in Bordeaux, I'm trying to do this in a professional way, and the idea is to spread it. Like I have a teacher now in Missouri, Evan, who you will meet maybe next week on the podcast, and he reached out on Patreon on my training program, and he said he was an instructor in Taekwondo, I think, before, and he asked me if he could use my forms to teach classes, and I said, yeah, of course we can create some sort of partnership. Then I decided to create an affiliation program for teacher, and I believe what would be great if people could join each other to train, not only in front of the computer. And if there were any teacher using my form, that would be great, like to have this all around. That's pretty much the idea.
That's great.
That's quite great. A bit of work involved. Not that
Yes.
not that you weren't aware of that, but I think it's interesting that you really want to keep the production quality up, because we do the put the camera down thing, the hit record on Facebook or YouTube Live and go thing, or the Zoom class thing. And by the way, that is very difficult. You are 100% right.
Yeah.
Trying to get time zones nailed out and things like that, teachers lined up and what have you. Oh, it was a nightmare doing the Zoom thing. Fun, but a nightmare trying to set it up. Yes. So I think it's very cool that you want to kind of keep the production value up. Although I would say definitely it sounds like you put a heavier emphasis on the content than anything else, which is good to hear as a martial arts teacher. That's what you should be doing, right? You actually want to have a good program before you put it out there. Yes. And then when you put it out there, you want it presented well, which you obviously do. So that's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. What do you have? Do your students do just their presentations, or do they do like Taolu competition? How do you have that happen?
I don't. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Can you repeat?
Do your students, when they do their Taolu, do they actually compete, or do they just present?
No, they just present. They just present. Yeah.
That's why.
In France, the only competition you have are the fencing one.
Okay.
You don't have okay. And I'm not. I don't think I was with the Wushu Federation when I did the competition in Taolu, and I don't think they are interested in the lightsaber community. They never reach out. They never reach out to me, and the Wushu in France is not so big. So I don't think that we can do this kind of competition with forms with the federation. It's pretty complicated, I think.
Yeah,
sure. The fencing federation has done a pretty good job with the fighting competition with lightsaber. They organize stuff every week, every year. They have nice events, from what I heard.
That if you get big enough, though, that might be something you do yourself.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. In a few years, maybe.
So we're kind of coming a little bit up on time here. Not totally, but we're getting close. So I kind of want to have a little fun with the end here. Alan, do you have any other heavy questions you want to ask Vince, or can we have a little fun now?
Oh, let me ask this one thing, and then
go for it. Go for it.
So, Vince, next May, at the end of May, we are having a.
Oh yes, please.
This is a worldwide invitation. Now that we're talking to you, is a gathering of lightsaber schools in Los Angeles, California, here in the United States. So. Just so you know, you are invited. Any of your students are invited. Evan is invited. Okay. It's a little bit easier for Evan to get here than it is for you. But in that vein, we are trying to get a Taolu competition. We're trying to get a single kata competition. We're trying to get more than just combat.
Choreography, team competition, all these things. Just like a traditional martial arts tournament would have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you are invited. Your school is invited. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now let's have some fun.
So and that would be fun. Truthfully, I think we if you have students or associates that are just potentially going to be in the area or could make it to the area, definitely send them our way. So that goes to our listeners as well. You guys have heard it on here before. You'll hear it again. So let me ask you this, Vince. What's your favorite personal lightsaber form to practice or teach? Or maybe both.
Okay. You're not the first one to ask me.
I'm sure.
when I need to, let me think about the English word. When I need to release some pressure, like strength, or I'm tense when I'm tense, or I go for form 5 because it's the
Okay.
one where
Okay.
I use a lot of strength, and it's really fun to practice in this way. But you need a bit of warm up, and the form is pretty tiring. When I want to have a fluid practice, like relax and make some go into the speed or technique and speed, but not strength, I like more form 3 soresu. With to me is the closest one to my Chinese sword form.
Yep.
The way I did that form is really like a freestyle straight sword taolu.
Yep.
For me. And to teach, I really enjoy teaching Form 1 because I still really enjoy to do simple movement, very basics. And when I show it to my students, I correct myself as well. I try to
Yes.
relax, to stay straight, relax on the hips, and stay grounded, and do a very precise technique. Form 1 is great for this.
You're one of the only teachers to have said that they like teaching Form 1 for that reason, that they get to check their own progress and technique and just, make sure there's no rust on their own hinges. I like that. I'm a big fan of the way you just laid that out. So then let me ask you this. What is one of your favorite martial arts that you've been exposed to other than the wushu type stuff that you've done before?
I'm not sure I got the question.
Like,
can you tell me again?
so you most of your training has been in wushu and Chinese martial arts,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So what are what is another martial art or style or geography of martial arts that you have been influenced by that you really appreciated other than the Chinese traditions?
Okay. I remember I really liked karate because when I was young, I really enjoyed it.
And it's popular in France still to this day, is it not?
Yes. Of course. And I think I switched to kung fu because at some point I watched a Bruce Lee movie, and I was crazy of Bruce Lee when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And but I think I like the body mechanics of karate.
Yeah.
The way they jump in and out.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a bit like fencing in a way, I think.
It is a lot like fencing, particularly with the front limb, the front leg, and the front hand.
Yes.
I agree with you on that.
I like to watch it. It's not something I want to practice because it's not my way of training.
Sure.
But I like the explosive power and the way they jump in and out. I think it's really interesting to look at.
That's a cool answer. Alan, you got a question like this?
Oh yeah. So that being said, who is your favorite Star Wars lightsaber practitioner?
There you go.
In the movies?
Yep, in the movies, in the TV shows, wherever.
TV shows, okay. My favorite character was always Obi-Wan because of the wisdom coming from the actor the way they played it and the way the character was written. But for the fighting, I think Anakin is my favorite for the fight.
There you go.
Especially since I really enjoyed the Ahsoka show. I know people say it's not so. Yeah, it was a little bit slow. The story was not incredible, but I really like the fact that they brought Anakin back and the relation he has with Ahsoka. And I know Hayden Christensen seems to be pretty fond of lightsaber fighting choreography.
Yeah.
He seems very implicated in, and you can see he likes it. And I like his style in the movie, in the Ahsoka show. I think he's even better than.
He's such a natural, as a martial arts teacher, and I'm sure you've seen this with many students over the years. Like, you see those students come in as a white belt or a beginner, and you just
Yeah.
know, like, if they stick with it, they're just going to be so ridiculously good. They just have whatever that natural gene
Yeah.
is that they can unlock it. And I think Hayden Christensen just has that. He just looks so good swinging a lightsaber, no matter what he's
Yes.
doing. And I think that fight scene in The World Between Worlds in the Ahsoka show is
Yeah.
probably
Was-
one of the better examples of the mixed techniques variety you can accomplish with a lightsaber that we've actually seen on film. It's kind of an underrated fight, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's great. I really enjoyed it. I love it.
Okay, that was a great question. Good answer. All right, Alan, give me another one like that. I'm gonna think of another one
So
before we go here.
sure. So in so saying, like when you look at creating your forms, right? Was
Yes.
there anybody in particular or any sort of martial artist or any sort of sword style that you uh heavily relied upon, or even just went, you know what? I know it's Soresu and Obi-Wan does this one move. You know, is there anything like that that happened when you were creating your curriculum?
What I tried to do is to give a feeling of different martial arts and every forms.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to. I didn't want it to all of them look like wushu. That was really the
Right.
idea. Like Shicho, a bit more Japanese.
Wonderful.
Makashi, a bit more European fencing.
Uh-huh,
I really tried to do that. So of course I watched video on the net,
Yep.
but there isn't anything really specific. Like I didn't really copy anything from the movies because for me the movies maybe they have some little marks or signs, but you don't really see the styles.
Right.
Different styles.
Right.
Even Dooku, except the signature he do with his hands at some point, he doesn't fight like a fencer in the episode 2 or 3.
Right. Definitely not in episode 2.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
I don't really remember, but maybe in the TV show
in Clone Wars a little bit. I'm thinking of the fight scene where Asajj Ventress and the Night Sisters try and assassinate him while he's in his pajamas, you know?
Yes.
He's a little bit more of a fencing
Yes.
style in that
in
fight scene.
In Clone Wars, right?
Yeah, in Clone Wars, yeah.
Maybe, yeah, it's what I was thinking about. Maybe in Clone Wars I tried because it's a cartoon, so it's easier to do.
Yep.
But, in the movie, you don't really see much difference. In Ahsoka, actually, you can see that Hayden Christensen is more of Form 5.
Yes,
using like
I agree.
When he fights, he's a little bit. He's not going too fast. He's using more strength to push her back, and so there you can see a bit more Form 5. But usually you don't see the difference. So it was more about watching a few on the net to get some different feelings, and yes, I got an idea of how to differentiate the styles.
Yeah,
and I did it this way.
If you have more martial arts training, I'm talking proverbial you here, the general you. If you have some prior martial arts training, you know, maybe 10 years or more, we'll say. It's not a hard number, but we'll just say 10 years or more. It becomes really easy is maybe the wrong word, but it becomes less challenging to look at other martial arts and concepts and you know, techniques, forms, whatever, and interpret them into your own knowledge base or the way that your body would do these things, right? And it sounds like that you rely on that instinct that you've developed as a martial artist to create the form, as you should, because if you don't actually have training in a kendo school, right, but you can understand the mechanics of it and you watch enough content to where you can do things that mimic and seem like the real thing. I mean, you're doing it, right? You're accomplishing the task at hand. So that's I think that sometimes for people that's like a hiccup in the way, that's like a barrier in the way of their progress. And it sounds like you just look at it like, well, there's a barrier, but I can go around it, you know, or I can go through it, or I can go over it. So that's a good way to look at Because it's impossible to have training in every martial art ever. It's just impossible.
No.
You know, but you can add nuance from many different martial arts.
I think from because this is really big. I think because I did a lot of artistic martial arts.
Yeah.
When you don't fight and you just train by yourself, you do forms, and at some point you realize that everything is just biomechanics.
Right.
And,
punch is a punch, kick is a kick, slash is a slash, stab is a stab.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, and the styles, the difference in martial arts is maybe it's just human thinking. It's just. You just try to do something different.
Yeah.
It's artistic, actually. Maybe it's like dancing. You have a modern jazz, you have classical, and but at the end of the day, it's just the body moving. So if your mind is open enough, there's not so much difference in between martial arts, I think.
So then here's a question along that vein, which is, what would be a weapon style or a martial arts style that you are personally interested in gaining a little more knowledge or influence from?
Okay. So I was saying this to Alan just before you arrive on the conversation. I've been doing Tai Chi for 7 years, something like this now.
Cool.
More actually, but I started when I was younger, then I stopped, and then I went back to it 7 years ago.
Okay.
Because one of my good friends introduced me to his teacher, who was to me as a really high level, and now it's just I just don't want to do anything else. I just practice slowly. I do slow movements.
Yeah.
To understand how my joints and my muscles, they are connected together with my brain, and I'm not really interested into the fighting anymore. I just want to feel good in my body, and I think Tai Chi is perfect for it. And the technique, I did Sanda, I did a little bit of Chinese wrestling, I did artistic martial arts. I can go in other martial arts. I will learn stuff for sure. I know I can learn a lot of stuff, but I'm not really interested in this anymore. I'm more about the body and the relaxation in the body, the mind stuff, the mind work, than the martial art technique. I'm not so interested in the martial art technique anymore.
Is it fair to say that for you, especially with a more internal martial art such as Tai Chi, is it fair to say that it's almost become like the pursuit of a physical high, so to speak, without the assistance of narcotics, if you will? You're seeking like an elevated sense, so to speak.
Yeah, you can say it like this. This, to me, is to create a relation between the body and mind.
Yeah.
By relaxing the body, you release a little bit the tension of the mind as well. So it's a really interesting part. And this I never had before doing Tai Chi. I never had this kind
of... when you're forced to go that slow, that smooth, and really just you're really thinking about breathing. At least when I've done any Tai Chi that I've done, which minimal compared to you two gentlemen, but that internal martial arts thing is like you're focusing on your breathing so hard for me that like, how can I focus on really anything but the motion, right? Anything but, and then that focus kind of, like you said, it takes your mind out of whatever it was doing and just puts you in that one singular session, that one singular place. It sounds really like ethereal the way we're talking about it right now, but I think that's kind of the purpose. You need to seek these moments in your life where you're not just like sitting here on this rock of earth existing. You've got to kind of coexist with yourself a little bit. I don't know if I'm saying that in a weird way, but separating your body and your mind just to put them right back together in a better way,
Yeah.
Tai Chi is one of the only martial arts styles that I know of that actually like you can really, really accomplish. I mean, yoga in the same way, for a lot of people, right? They feel this sense of they've connected with themselves in a way. And I think Tai Chi is the yoga of the martial arts world.
Yes.
So that's very neat. Do you feel that it has made, you said you're in your early 40s. You're not by any means an old man, but in martial arts years, you're definitely older than the average, like 43-year-old. However, you're probably still physically capable more capable than the average 43-year-old. So how does that kind of, like, at your age, what has the martial arts done for you as far as like how you feel, how you are going to feel in the future?
The modern wushu helped me to develop the qualities like flexibility and muscle tonicity.
Yeah, your jumps and spins in your forms, man, you look like a ballerina, and I'm saying that as a compliment.
It's okay. I know there are some similar movements and feeling than dancing, of course, especially with the Chinese wushu.
Yeah.
And but Tai Chi has learned me something totally different, and mainly, basically, it's just how to relax your body when you are moving.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I never thought about before doing Tai Chi. Really.
Did you notice as a male, especially, that you like carried a bunch of tension around previously, and now you kind of like you're able to let things roll off you a little bit more, or not the case?
What's happening with Tai Chi is you feel your tension.
Mm-hmm.
You start to feel your tension, and then it takes years to release them.
Yeah,
it's a very long work. You cannot be really good in Tai Chi in a couple of years. It's impossible. I mean, to me, for me, it's impossible. I think after 7 years, I start to really kind of feel I'm coming from beginner to intermediate.
Yeah.
After 7 years.
Wow, that's good for people to hear, because, you know, in a culture of instant gratification, we feel like in a black belt after 1 year a lot of times, right? Or we get students that feel like where's my black belt at 1 year, right? And you're like, dude, you're just barely a baby still. So I like, so Tai Chi, not just for the 85-year-old ladies in the park, right?
No.
You know,
the earlier, the better.
Yeah, that's good.
But Tai Chi for me, my father told me, you should do Tai Chi when you're in China. But I was 20 years old. I had no feeling to do Tai Chi. Tai Chi comes, if you start to do Tai Chi, it will come at the right point of time.
Yeah,
because it's you need to have your mindset to do Tai Chi. If you don't have the mindset, you will never enjoy Tai Chi. It's impossible to enjoy Tai Chi if you don't have the mindset. It's really complicated. It can be very boring. It's kind of tiring. It's painful because you get into your body tension, so you feel some sort of pain, and you really need to have this mindset to do Tai Chi. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
You got me kind of juiced up about it, to be honest with you. I'm kind of excited about this prospect. Alan, I don't know, man. You might have a Tai Chi white belt in your hands here. It got me juiced up about this Tai Chi thing in a way that I've not felt before. So that's kind of cool. You make it sound like something that I could really benefit from, and not just me. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of benefits to martial arts for anybody, but you know, in particular, It's nice to hear, like, having been exposed to so many martial arts over the years, it's nice to hear, like, sometimes that a specific recommendation or a specific inclination and why, you know, that I really related to just now. So that's kind of nice. Didn't expect that. Cool. All right, Alan, let's have you finish us up with a question or a quick topic or something, and then we'll let Vince go for the night.
Yeah. Well, the only other question, Vince, is how do people get a hold of you or reach you, or is there a specific way that's best to learn more about the lightsaber path?
I've on the net, I've put lightsaber path everywhere on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. It's all the same name. And except for Facebook, I have a personal account which is Jedi Vince. Stands for Jedi Knight. I just didn't want it to use the Jedi word, but you can reach out. Pretty easily on Facebook. I reply pretty fast if someone send me a message, or just a normal way, like a direct message or a commentary on a post.
And you have links for all of the other things on all of the things. Like, I'm looking on your YouTube page. If you look up Lightsaber Path on YouTube and you search the channels there, it should be the first channel that pops up. and you can find his Patreon on there as well. So I encourage people to definitely check out the YouTube content that you've produced. It's just for the production value alone. As a Star Wars nerd, I really appreciate it. But as a martial arts nerd, I also appreciate it because you can tell that you've put in the work over the years. You really understand martial arts, and you really understand that the lightsaber should be a fun activity that makes you feel good about what you're doing. So it's really evident when you watch your stuff, and I appreciate that. So I say thank you on behalf of the larger community, just for putting a positive stamp on it. So it's really nice.
And thank you for having me on the podcast. It's really great.
It's been a great pleasure, and we're excited. Next week, I believe we have you and your Padawan. I think you said on.
He's a teacher as well.
Okay, and he is here in America, and so we should have a fun time. We'll have all four of us on the show, and we'll kind of just pick up where we left off, and we'll get to know him a little bit, and we'll get to know you some more. So we appreciate everybody listening. As always, we appreciate Vince coming on. Alan, thank you for getting in contact with him and hooking this up. And of course, we if you haven't listened to any of the previous episodes, there's something wrong with you. Go back right now. Go listen to the previous episodes of the show. Check us out on Instagram at SMA Foundation. Check us out on our new Patreon /Saber Martial Arts. And all the stuff, YouTube, we got video game content up there, class content, all the stuff, guys, all the stuff. SaberMartialArts.life. Thank you again to Lightsaber Path. Thank you to Alan and Vince. Thank you to anybody who's listening. And bring your own saber.
This party's over.
Thank you, guys.